Okay, real estate agents, you're going to want to stay tuned for this show. We are here with Michael Dargie. He's the owner of Make More Creative Marketing in Calgary, Canada. Just wrote the book Brand Jitsu, which has loads of things you can use. And today we're going to be talking, and you're going to be leaving with some action items to work on after the show. So here we go, Michael. Thanks for coming on.
Joe, thanks for having me. It's going to be so much fun. I can't wait.
I love your energy. You have your podcast going. You got a lot of energy going on there.
Yeah,
you got some great stuff happening. So let's talk branding.
Yeah.
So, most real estate agents, they're their own brand. And there are millions of us out here.
Right.
So getting separated, getting themselves to stand up is always a challenge. So let's jump in. What is branding?
Well, okay. Great question right off the hop. That's a big question. It's branding is basically, the way I look at it, is building a whole new person. But if we back up a sec and we look at what we tend to do as business owners, whether you're independent as your real estate agent or you've got a small mom and pop shop, whatever, you tend to want to have a logo, have some colors, have a website, have some tear sheets, stuff to hand out to people. That is all stuff above the surface, which is good. And you need to have that because people need to see it, because that's where the people are. The people are above the surface seeing that stuff. The problem is, and what I discovered along the way, is that that's where everybody tends to start and they don't pay attention to what's below the surface. So one day, many, many years ago, I was explaining this to a potential client because they wanted a new logo. They wanted it to be a boat and they wanted it to be blue. And I was like, well, okay, why a blue boat? He's just like, well, it's just what I like. I'm just like, okay, but why do you like it? He goes, I don't know. I'm like, I'm sure you do. We need to figure that out. So I said, yes, I can build you that blue anchor or that blue boat, above the surface, but we need to go deeper and figure out what is your vision? What is your passion? Like, what is your purpose behind this whole thing? He's just like, is that important? I said, like, it's the most important part of this whole thing is why you're there. And above that is your brand DNA, which is what do you do? Why do you do it? Who do you do it for? Why do they care? Once you establish that, now you've got the beginnings of something important and something that me as a designer can start to work with. So I drew this world's cheesiest metaphor. It's in my book. It's an iceberg with the outward expression of your brand on the top and everything down below the surface that starts with, the vision, purpose, values, the brand DNA, your brand personality. How do you show up? How do you walk, talk, and act in the world? Who's your customer? You might have heard ICP, your ideal customer profile, but in a different way that's just not like a single mom in the suburbs. We want to talk about, what does she like in her coffee? What does she watch, late at night? And then the stuff that you're selling, whatever that happens to be. Now that you have all that stuff below the surface, now you can build something above the surface that's going to be meaningful and memorable. And that's the title of the book.
That is super important. And I see it all the time when agents get into the business, they want that fancy logo of their initials.
Yeah.
Curly and,
Yeah.
To me.
Everybody's got the same look on the bus bench.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. So tying that together, that's a challenge.
It is, but it is and it isn't. So the methodology, and I'm not here to sell books. I mean, that'd be great if you do, but the methodology.
I think you've sold one anyway. I'll be honest.
The methodology is built on some hard-earned experience over 20 years of doing this type of work with these types of customers. So just by basically following the bouncing red ball through this system, you figure out what your vision, values, and purpose is. Just write it down. It's not hard if you're given the tools to do it. Understanding your brand DNA, which is what do you do? Why do you do it? Who do you do it for? Why did they care? And being specific about that, but not being marketing about it. All of this is devoid of, I'm going to be the best real estate agent on the planet, or I really care about the inner city.
You're going to be honest and trustworthy.
Yeah, right. If any other real estate agent can put what you wrote on their site, then it's good for nobody.
Right.
You need to start again. So I tell this story. So I do improv at this company called Loose Moose Theater in Calgary. And this is a slight divergent, but stay with me here.
Sure.
So improvisational comedy is you walk out on stage. The audience has no idea what story you're going to tell either. Everybody's a little nervous and it's great. So we were doing this show called Maestro Impro. And there's 14 improvisers start. At the end of the night, there's only one left over. You get voted out by the audience throughout the night. Till there's just one maestro at the end. And anyway, there's 3 of us left. I've never won a maestro. I'm super excited. And my friend and I are sitting on the bench. Another friend of ours is on the other side of the stage. We get called up to do a scene. We do this scene. We get scored 4 out of 5. We're like, yeah, we're going to the finals. It's going to be awesome. Sweet, sweet, sweet. And then our friend Jen gets called up to do a solo scene all by herself in front of 200 people. She calls for the spotlight to go onto the stage. She asks for a couch to be brought out on stage. Out it comes. She leaves the stage and reaches into her purse in the dark, comes back, lays on stage, lays on this couch with this puppet of a dog on her chest. And the audience is like murmurs and they're trying to figure out what's going on. She just turns into the couch away from the audience and goes to sleep. The dog's tail wags. It yawns a little maybe. And the audience loses their mind. Like they start howling. So the dog notices what's happening and gets really excited that there's an audience there. And then Jen feels the dog moving but she tried to go back to sleep on the stage and the dog is like losing its mind. The audience is freaking out. This goes on for 5 minutes. There's not one word said. And it's just this dog living its life, trying to nuzzle, its owner awake and trying to be playful and trying to play with the audience, stuff like that. People lost their minds. So she got a 5 out of 5 and won the show. And the reason why I love this story so much and it sticks with me is because I remember it. I've seen hundreds of these shows, and that is one of the few that I remember. And the reason why I remember it is because it was true. Deep down truth, if you're a dog owner or an animal lover at all, you saw the reality reflected back to you in this moment. You saw the honesty of it all.
Right.
So, my thesis for the Brand Jitsu Move Your Brand from Meh to Memorable is that memorable moment. Figure out your truth. Start down at the bottom, right? With your vision, values, and purpose. Start there. You don't have to paint or color it with anything. You don't even have to be talking about real estate at that point. You can just talk about, how do you show up as a human? And then when sorry, go ahead.
That's a hard thing to figure out on your own.
It is. It certainly helps to have a sounding board, but it does help to have a list of things that you are or aren't and to really think about those things. I put up guardrails for people in the book and in the worksheets that you can pick 3 values. That's it. Out of like every value you could have on the planet, you get 3. So, and people lose their minds. They're just like, well, I can't just pick 3. I need to be honest and exceptional and, all this stuff.
Right,
I'm just like, yeah, I get that. And you are all those things. I believe you. But you only get 3 because you need to focus.
Yeah.
Right. And what's the vision? The vision is the big, hairy, audacious goal of what isn't yet real, but you want to make real. And your purpose is the reason why you're doing it. Then when you get into the DNA, what do you do? Why do you do it? Who do you do it for? Why do they care? I'll give you an example. Nike, back in the day, not current day, but when they first started out, they made shoes. So that would be the answer to that question. What do you do? We make shoes. Why do you do it? Well, in Bill Bowerman's case, it was to improve athletic performance, right? Reduce injury, increase times, that sort of thing. Who do they do it for? Athletes specifically. And then why do they care? Because it improved their performance. So that's all you need to know in the DNA section. But I will tell you, when I work with clients to get clear on those 4 things, that can take 4 to 6 hours to figure out, because you've got to clear away a lot of the stuff and a lot of the noise that shows up where you're like, we make the best shoes, or we're like, a super footwear extravaganza company. That doesn't matter.
No, what you just said is something I've gone through recently. I started a new company and did all that. Know my target market, know what I want to say, how I want to represent myself and what I stand for and the audacious goal and the reason I'm doing it. All that's written out.
Yeah.
That was done, 6 months ago?
Yeah.
And man, I took a hard right. And I was just like going this totally different direction because I'm listening to all these people with all these great ideas saying, you got to do it this way. And it was not me at all.
Yeah.
And luckily it wasn't that big it was a hard right, yet it was just more mindset than anything else. And it was easy once I figured it out to get back on track.
Yeah.
Agents are the same way. They have their friends talking to them, their family talking to them, their coach talking to them, their mentor, or all these people going at them. It's really hard to stay on track with that.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like when you have everybody to do, you got to be really rock solid on your vision. And that's why I think that what we do, or what you can do with this book, once you go through it, and you can download the worksheets for free off the website too, so you can go through it with the book, with the worksheets. At the end, you've got basically a document. You've got the beginnings of a brand playbook. And then that becomes your guiding light, your North Star. You can go into that. And I'm also happy to help people formulate what they came up with and put it into a playbook. So they're just like, all right, this is the playbook for now. We're going to reevaluate it in 6 months or 12 months. But because we've done this work already and we've got these worksheets, we can be like, oh, okay, you know what? I'm a little too rebellious. Like my market was just like, nope. But so then you go like, okay, but everything else was good. So now we can move that lever, maybe dial that back a little bit in your marketing communications and see how that plays with the market over the next 6 months.
One of the hardest things I think that agents come across, I know I do, in getting that brand out is there's just so much noise. And I don't want to say competition. There's plenty of that.
Yeah, that's
There's just so much noise to get above. How do you get that message up above all the other stuff that's being thrown out there? That's not you.
yeah.
You get piled into that.
There's so much to say about.
I know.
But I mean,
I
there's in
It's in
the book. It's
All
in the
right,
book.
it's in the book.
But I will say that at the end of this, I do have some steps to take. Very, very clear steps. It would be like, you can do this. Have you thought about doing that? I've got I'm just looking here at my notes here. I've got like 6, 7, 8 things we can talk
Right.
about there. But yeah, but you have to stand out, be different than the other real estate agents. But then you also have to speak their language. You have to connect with a specific audience type.
Yeah. I had one guest on the show, Jennifer Kessel White, and she did exactly what you're talking about. After going haywire on one team, she broke all that, started all over. She started out just like you were saying, figured out who a client was,
Yeah.
what they wanted to serve, and how they wanted to be perceived, what was the service they wanted. And then everything they do is geared towards attracting that client.
Yep.
And it's everything, 100%. Nothing goes out that does not speak to her people.
Well, that's amazing. And that's so forward thinking and also so obvious. Like if you look at the statistics that I ran recently, and you guys know better than I will, but in North America, 60 to 70% of business in real estate is a referral. Does that sound reasonable? Does that sound right?
Yeah. Jennifer's at 86.
Okay.
And then referral, not just the same people. It's just
Yeah.
they
No.
bringing their people in.
Yeah. Oh my God, I just met this great Jennifer.
Yeah.
You got to meet Jennifer. She's going to fix you up.
Yeah.
Right. So once you get one customer, that one customer can now turn into, 6 customers. And so every one new customer that you get becomes 6. And I think the stats were something along 20% for repeat purchase. They'll use you again if they're going to move. And again, I'm no real estateologist, but
Yeah, the numbers are all over. They'd use them more if the agent were on top of their game and in front of them.
absolutely.
A lot of times they get forgotten because they're in front of them all the time.
Yeah. There's a guy up here in Calgary. His name is Justin Haver. And he's a big deal. He's showing up really big. And I think initially his thing was your home sold guaranteed. That was like, that's all he had on his billboard. His face, your home sold guaranteed. Not even an asterisk. It's
Right.
just, it was done.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure there's a whole lot of legal stuff below that, if it doesn't sell in this amount of time, blah, 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 they'll buy it. But I mean, anyway, so now he's got these giant billboards and that's his thing. Home sold guaranteed. I don't know what his referral rate is like, but it could be just he's getting a lot of first time people who are just like, oh my God, I need to sell my house. He says it's guaranteed. Sweet, gonna go with it.
Yeah. And there's the caveat. If you are too heavy on your sphere of influence, that could run out.
Yeah,
So you always have to be feeding the funnel.
absolutely.
There always has to be some of that going on.
Yeah, and I do think that if you know who you are and what you're up to and the person that you serve, because we're also another side of this is that you're in service to your customer. You are I think we're maybe similar vintage. I may be a little bit older, but you are the Obi-Wan to their Luke Skywalker, right? You've got the Force, or you're Yoda to Luke Skywalker. You've got the Force. Luke needs the Force. Luke is going to come around and be like, hey, I need some force to defeat the Empire. You're going to be like, here's some force. Off goes Luke to use the force, defeats the Empire. That's all your job is to give them the force, right? They have got these pains and these fears and all the other stuff that they're going through from moving house, buying a new house, selling a house, all that stuff. And whatever you can do to serve that story is going to resonate with them emotionally because it's such a huge emotional journey for them. So is it a simple matter of, when they move in, do you have a really cool move-in gift that you have? Do you stage their home with Lego? Do you, back in the day, how much do you know your customer and what they want? Do you stock their wine fridge with their favorite stuff, right? Like all these things.
Yeah.
That's how you get to be memorable.
That absolutely works. And, sometimes I've gotten, it's funny. Somebody said this the other day when they received a closing gift from their agent and it was branded for the agent. That's not a gift. That's a marketing piece.
Yeah.
Right.
That's cringy.
Yeah, that's where the agents are like, what, they're spending hundreds and hundreds of dollars on this branded stuff, marketing materials,
Yeah.
and they're calling it a closing gift.
Yeah. That's cringe.
So, and yeah, another thing that you talking about the noise, we have all these channels,
Yeah.
right? We have an agent has so many different ways of getting in front of people, from phone calls, to social media, and that's a variety in its own,
Yeah.
to networking, to phone functions, and just so many different ways people can build their business.
Yeah.
Overwhelming.
Yeah.
Three?
And be really good at them. And throwing that number out arbitrarily, but hear me out. Like social media, for example, could be one, but I mean, choose Instagram and TikTok. Don't choose LinkedIn, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, like all of them. It's going to wear you out.
Yeah.
And also, if I start seeing, because I'm on all those platforms throughout my day, if I see the exact same content from a person on the exact same, on these different platforms, it's just, I get blind to it.
It's noise.
It becomes noise, but getting really good at one of those social media platforms is awesome. Like I follow people on Instagram or Threads. I don't do a lot on TikTok. It's just not my place. And I'm on LinkedIn more than I am other places. But I follow these people that are like, they bring something to the table. It's not self-serving. It's fun. It's short. It sticks. It's not salesy. And that's part of the thrum. It's not the noise. It's the thrum of their brand. And then I'll go over and I'll see they got a billboard, which is similar, but different to the social media posts. I might hear them on the radio because I still do listen to the radio when I'm driving. I'll listen to talk radio because sometimes that's what I do. Yeah. Television, I mean, that's kind of a lost art at this point, but ads on YouTube, how valuable are they? Is, you're only going to watch the first 5 seconds and skip through it. So, figuring out what that mix looks like for you. But if you pick 3 and just own them, then you're going to be heard and seen and experienced a lot more. I think you're going to be remembered a lot more.
Yeah, that's a hard one to figure out. Like, how do you know which of the 3 to be on?
Yeah. I mean, again, I would say that maybe it's not the only 3 that you're on, but I think you call it a 3-pack focus, and then you can have the other stuff which just sort of drifts along with you. The little flotsam and jetsam of marketing.
Right. Yeah, that's good. The big companies aren't going to like this. How much is the brand behind the agent matter in your world?
Oh,
we should think. So there are some big names in this business, been around a long time, and the agent they're the business.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm trying to think of the name of one of them. Like,
you can call Compass is starting to focus just on the high end. They're reeled back into that.
Sure, we've got Remax is sort of mid grade, but they also have the Remax Platinum or something like that. I think that if it's a recognized brand, that's important. I think that if people know it, they're just like, okay, I recognize that brand. That checks a box. I don't think it matters necessarily what brand it is, as long as it's recognized. If it's a new real estate brand, that might be a tough sell because people might be a little sketchy about it. It hasn't been proven yet. But to answer your question, I think so long as there's a brand associated with the person, and then the person is allowed to show up as their own brand within the brand, that's cool.
Yeah, we will see it. It just kind of counter that a little bit. We will see an agent when they leave their company, whatever their brand was, that company, most times their clients and the customers are going to go with them.
Oh, for sure.
Right. So, their brand is absolutely more important than who they're hanging their license with.
Absolutely. And yes, 100%. I was just saying that you need to have that brand. If you just show up, if you hang your own shingle, that can work too.
Yeah.
But I think it's a harder sell initially because people will be like, they're looking for a box to check if they don't know you yet.
Right.
But yeah, I think you're 100% right. Like if my realtor, who I love, went to a different company, I would follow them. I wouldn't stay with the company.
Right.
What has the company done for me?
Right. Okay, good. We're on
Did they show up at 12 o'clock or 12 o'clock midnight to open a door for me so I could go see it because that was the only time I could do it? Like, oh man, I'm thinking about all the awful stuff, I did to my realtor, when I was really getting ready to close on a house. Like, and she was there the entire time.
Yeah, it can be stressful, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So, well, let's do this. I've got a couple things for people to think about. Let's just go do maybe the first 3. Number 1 thing that you can do for yourself is know your brand DNA. And that is the truth is greater than the trend. So ask yourself, and you can write these down, get a pen, get a pencil. What do I actually believe about buying and selling homes? Why do I do this work? Really? Who am I for and who am I not for? So in the simplest of terms, who do you love working with or who do you not love working with? who is going to resonate with you and who is going to be repelled by you. And it is fine.
You're speaking to their client, their ideal client.
Yeah. So, but the first question was, what do I actually believe about buying and selling homes? Like, why do you do it? And if you just say just to make money, or it's what I do, it's not good enough.
Right.
You need to dig deeper because, there's that sounds more like a commodity, something that doesn't really matter. If it doesn't really matter, why are you doing it? You need to rethink your life's choices, I think.
It's
right?
not an easy job to go through just for
No, if you really, really love, helping people get to here, there, do whatever that thing is, navigate this stuff. And again, to get more clear with the book, but, figuring that out right at the beginning is really important. And really, why do you do it? Like, what is that about? And I think that, smiles on faces is fine. It's a little generic, helping people move on is, a little less generic, maybe, I don't know. But there's people have made entire businesses of, helping seniors go from what was their forever home into a new home or assisted home. Like that's a very niche thing. So what are you doing? And this whole who am I for and who am I not for? It is fine to not be the right fit for everyone, right? Like maybe you despise selling to starving artists. Also cool. Maybe you just love helping teachers move. You know what I mean? Be that specific. I think that's going to really help. I've got the pro tip here is helping people navigate the market is not a purpose.
That's the role.
But helping anxious introverts win in a world built for loud people is
like that,
right? Like suddenly that's a whole different way to approach your market. Now, the next thing is be personal or be forgotten. For a brand to be memorable, it must connect on an emotional level, deep, truthful, and authentic. Ask yourself this: would a client say this about me over dinner? And this about your marketing stuff, would it be like, oh, they're like the best, they're amazing. Could another agent use this exact wording? So when you're talking about your marketing communication stuff, if you're just like, good example, they loved helping me move, maybe I should go to you, Joe. What would be a really generic thing to say?
I sold the house in 2 days. Not anymore. But back when it was now, everybody was saying that.
Right.
I sold the house in 6 hours.
Yeah. Awesome.
Nice.
Okay.
Well, you did. Nice.
Yeah. Yeah. And if they're sitting around a table, would the person say that about you? That, oh, they sold the house in 6 hours. Well, maybe actually if that happened, they would. But could another agent use that exact wording? And if that's true, then you need to go back and figure out a way to make this whole messaging more personal.
Right.
Yeah. Deep, truthful, and authentic. That is the winning combination. Design your ideal customer like a character. Here's the other one, your ICPs. Ditch the vague demographics and create a human instead. So instead of young professionals in Calgary, that's who you serve. How about detail-loving creatives who want walkable neighborhoods, a clawfoot tub, and zero small talk?
That is specific.
Now, suddenly we know who we're...
Right.
And the campaigns just happen now. I'm already seeing them. Like, how am I going to shoot this picture? How am I going to present that? Right.
That is so hard for people to make the decision to do that.
It is.
They feel as though they're going to be closing themselves off to so many people.
Yeah.
By being that specific.
Yeah. But I mean, I've always been a big believer in niching down. I think that the more niche you are, the better. Still going to see your ads. And it might resonate with them on a different level, or they might know a detail-loving creative. You might have a detail-loving creative in their life. They're just like, oh, you should talk to so-and-so because they're just like, they get it. You like clawfoot, But
and it is true. So I don't do transactions anymore. I do occasionally. I refer out to other agents, and it's because of who they are and how I know they're going to get along with that person.
Right.
So I know what their brand is. I know who they're going to relate to. And then I bring them together. It feels so much more comfortable than me trying to be the one all for everybody.
Oh, absolutely. Well, if you look at like what I just said about the detail loving creatives, blah, 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 that gives you an idea of what sort of agent I would be. But I could also come up with another one that serves a different demographic, but with the same sort of spice to it. Do you know what I mean? We don't have to just serve detail-loving creatives in walkable neighborhoods with the clawfoot tubs and zero small talk. That's one of the people that we serve. We can have many heroes that we help.
Okay. Well, but how's that messaging work then? If you're going after different people?
Well, just different campaigns. Like to me, this would be, if this was you, Joe, I'd be like, oh man, Joe just gets it. These types of people, he just understands what makes them tick. It becomes you're the filter, and people start seeing themselves in the story that you're sharing. And that's the magic sauce. But yeah, I'm not saying for a second that you have to just serve that one market. I just think that you have to be that focused.
Yeah, I get that. And I actually fight with that on my own. I do it. And sometimes I feel like I need to back it up a little bit.
Yeah.
Fortunately, my marketing person keeps pushing me back to the original focused target.
Yeah.
And it's hard.
100%. Yeah. And I mean, you're going to trial and error. There's, ways to make things memorable. And this is in any combination, is singular or plural. The things that make stuff memorable, and I'm just thinking campaign stuff here, is personal relevance. Speak to the person, not to the market. So in the above statement, we are speaking to a specific person. We're talking about the person. That's what matters. People don't care about the market. They're aware of it, but they need to know what's in it for them. What's their story? There's this idea of using novelty in your campaigns, which is like, show up weird, witty, or wild. Just don't be beige. Anything but beige. Now, you could go too far and, push people away, or you're going to really find your tribe and people are just like, oh, wow, that is like so clever. That's so cool. I've never seen that before, which is what novelty is about. And then emotional intensity is another way that you can add flavor to this mix, which is tell stories, use feeling words, not feature lists. I know that there's going to be check boxes, but I need more than that.
Yeah.
And contrast, I love contrast. I use contrast all the time, which is when other people zig, you zag. No ties if everyone's in suits. The idea being that, especially, and you've used this phrase a couple times, noise. There's so much noise in the market. So how do you pop above that noise? Contrast is a good way. Novelty, another good way. Personal relevance, another good way. Like these 4 things that I just mentioned, great ways to pop up out of the noise.
That's really brave of somebody to do that. To go against the norm?
Yeah.
Especially in real estate. And there's a look for people.
Yeah.
For agents. There's an expected look, or at least we think there is. My friend Mike up on Cape Cod, he drove me crazy because I was managing the office, and he would show up, and this was a high-end luxury market with a high luxury brand with codes. He would show up in his shorts and his flip-flops, like shirt.
Yeah.
And he was crushing it.
Yeah.
And he stood out.
Well,
and it worked.
I bet
it drove me nuts because it was against the brand and all that. It worked for him. He was his brand and it worked.
It was authentically him.
It's huge.
Yeah.
It's huge.
Yeah. I mean, even like, think about those bus benches. There was one that I saw on 17th Ave here in Calgary. I'm trying to remember what the difference was, but it was your typical real estate billboard. And I forget what she did. Obviously it's not that memorable, but it popped out to me that this was the same, but different. And there's something different about it. Oh, I'm terrible at this, but yeah, there's something about her headshot that was just so radically different than the other person. And maybe it was a tattoo up her neck, or maybe it was
the Mike Tyson thing going.
Yeah, or she had like a rubber duck. Do you know what I mean? Like something like that was like, oh, so normal, checks a box. There's a real estate bus stop coming up. But then something uniquely different that was like, oh, interesting. And if I was in the mood for buying a house, I'd probably write her number down, something like that.
Yeah. All right. So do you mind summarizing those real quick again so they can just check their list to make sure they got them all?
The personal relevance, like this list? Okay. So personal relevance, speak to one person, not to the market. Novelty, show up weird or wild or witty, just not beige. Emotional intensity, tell stories. Use feeling words, not feature lists. And contrast, zig when other people zag. No ties if everyone's in suits. Those are 4 ways to, find a way to be memorable and pop up above the noise.
That's great. Super helpful.
Yeah. Awesome.
And that list, I'm sure on the book, you help them get through that in more detail. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
It is. So I'm going to do a shameless plug because
Please.
This is, oh my goodness, pages. It's like 260 pages. This is it right there.
Wow.
Yeah. It is chock full of all the stuff that I think about when I help brands.
Can you hold it up so everyone can see it? So Brand Jitsu, and I'll put a link in.
Yeah. Move your brand from meh to memorable. Yeah. Move your brand from meh to memorable.
And what's the Jitsu? What's the Jitsu piece? Can you give us a...
Oh, sure. Yeah. So, way back in the day, I taught Japanese jiu-jitsu for a lot of years. And one of the tenets of Japanese jiu-jitsu is that if you can't learn a technique in 3 minutes or less, it will be useless to you in combat. So that is the only part of martial arts that's in this book, is that it is very quick to learn. It's very quick to put into practice. Brand, if you will, is story. Jitsu in Japanese means art or technique. So this is the art and technique of telling stories. This is all about how to find, shape, and share your story with the world so everybody gets it. And it's 25 years of what I've learned distilled into a book for $24.99.
Wow. Sounds like a deal. Sounds
right?
like that's
I hope so.
if somebody can spend $24.99 on something like that
Yeah,
and come up with a blueprint that's gonna make them untold amount of money, it's a good investment.
I think so.
I bet you do. I do too, and I'm gonna be buying that.
Oh, good
Uh,
man.
so that's
Appreciate it.
good. Yeah, timing's perfect. No, this has been great, Michael. I really appreciate you coming on.
Oh, my pleasure.
Some serious diamonds you just gave out. Hopefully people are gonna follow
Thank you.
and buy the book. It's been great.
Joe, this has been an absolute treat. You've been a great host. I love your questions as well. Appreciate you.
Yeah, same here, man. All right. Hey, subscribe and be best. Have fun.
Do the thing.